Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Joe Scarkelly, and today I want to talk to you about an issue that's very important to me. My biggest issue right now is the fight to decrease the drinking age from 21 to 18. In my opinion, there's no room in the society for it. It's dangerous, and it shouldn't be done. It shouldn't be a thought. I realize the arguments against it are you can go and buy tobacco, but that's not even true in every county anymore. In my hometown, you have to be 21 to buy tobacco, you have to be 21 to buy alcohol. That's changing. That shouldn't be an argument. The argument that you can go and fight for your country, I understand it on some level, but it's still not a great argument. The fact of the matter is teenagers are not able to make the right decisions at the right times. 6 to 9 teens a day die from car accidents caused by speeding alone, according to the CDC. That number only goes up when you include alcohol. Personally, if the drinking age was 18, when I was 18 years old, I would be in a lot of trouble right now. I would probably be alcoholic. And when I was 18, I would have failed out of school. I would have sat at a bar. I would have just watched sports because it's the manly thing to do. It's not acceptable. The drinking age needs to be 21. When the drinking age was lowered in the 1970s, there was an increase in drinking and driving related incidents. That number's gone down over time. Yes, it still happens. We can't police everything all the time. It's just not possible. But since 1991, we're down nearly 60% of accidents being underage drinking and driving, and that's an astounding accomplishment. I know it's almost 30 years later, but this is a huge country. Taxis aren't everywhere. Uber and Lyft, the ride-sharing services, are just getting here. We're just learning about them. So the fact that we don't have as many accidents already shows that, yes, we're getting smarter about it, but maybe parents are becoming more lenient about it, and I'm not sure that that's the best way to go about it. Underage drinking is already a major public health problem in the United States. And according to the CDC, 4,300 people under 21 die every single year from underage drinking. 4,300. That's a lot of people a day. I can't even do that math. Fighting this does take money. It costs an astronomical $24 billion each year, but that includes the medical bills. That includes the rides to the hospital. It includes purchasing the alcohol. It encapsulates everything, and the idea is to have that eliminated. We need to have better ways to detect fake IDs. We need to have better scanners to detect the fake IDs. The people at the liquor store need to care more. They need to be held to a higher responsibility than they already are. It's one thing to separate the beer from the liquor, even though, at least where I'm from, in upstate New York, most of the beer and liquor is still put together. They're in technically separate stores, but you don't even have to go outside to go from one to the other. It's a joke that they're separated. They should just be together. But that's a whole different issue. Last year, there were 189,000 emergency room visits for underage drinking. Just last year, 189,000. Obviously, not all of those resulted in deaths. Maybe some of them weren't totally necessary. But 189,000 emergency room visits from people under 21 only. That's not including anybody else that had to go to the hospital because of drinking, period. We're just talking about underage drinking here. 90% of the alcohol under 21 that was drank binging. Binge drinking is a huge issue in this country. It's the college idea, it's the fraternity, the sorority idea. Don't drink all week, but on the weekends, I'm going to have 30 beers. Again, that's not acceptable. Lowering the drinking age is not going to solve that. you're still going to have hazing. You're still going to have soccer team hazing and sports teams all across the country. You're still going to have fraternities that make you do these insane things. People die from fraternity hazing, from drinking. Lowering the drinking age isn't going to help that. Schools need to police it better. That's where this starts. Schools need to be policing this better. And I know it's a pain in the ass. I know you don't want to have your RAs that are basically these kids' ages coming and busting up parties when they're just trying to have a good time. But it has to start there. It has to start somewhere. Not to mention, the increase in suicide and violence in underage drinking is not something we should be seeing in this country. It increases the likelihood of a sexual assault and leads to school performance problems, quite frankly. As I said before, if I was able to drink openly at a bar legally when I was 18 years old, I would have been in a lot of trouble. And I'm not the only one that feels that way. There are other people in this world that are going to be saying basically the same thing. Like, I would have been in a lot of trouble. Additionally, it leads to dependence on alcohol, which is just another way of saying it leads to alcoholism later down the road when you're older. There's not a lot I can say about alcoholism that hasn't already been said. It's a disease. It's a mental disease. It's a dependency thing. But allowing a kid to start drinking at 15 is only going to make him more dependent. It's the same idea as nicotine. You give a kid a pack of cigarettes, they get addicted at 15, they're going to need it all the way through. Alcohol is just as addictive, and it leads to drinking earlier leads to alcoholism, plain and simple. It's been proven out there. The CDC has done research on it. There's and a lot more places than just the CDC. 85% of teens in high school who report drinking and driving also say they were binge drinking on that night. I don't know that any other statistic needs to be said. You have a high school student, a teenager, drinking and driving, and they're also binge drinking. Binge drinking is defined by having 5 or more alcoholic drinks in a matter of a couple of hours. I said before, I personally think schools need to do a better job enforcing the issue. Parents need to do a better job enforcing the issue. I know that's a sticky situation, but when a parent lets a kid have a drink at home, kid's just going to get used to it. Maybe it was different with me. I don't know. I was never allowed to drink at home. It wasn't a thing. I never got used to drinking at home. The point of all this is to say people under 21 do not have the wherewithal, the capacity to make the right choices all the time. I can't stress that any more than I already have. People will be in a lot more trouble than they already are. We've already tried lowering the drinking age once in the 70s. That didn't go well. Drinking and driving went up, and now we're back down, and we want to just lower the drinking age again. Because why exactly? It would make more money? That's a bad argument. I know at 18, you're an adult, technically by the letter of the law, but it does not mean you can make adult decisions on a consistent and regular enough basis. So please think about this when you go home tonight. Think about it. Think about, do you want your kids out there on their college campuses drinking? They may be doing it anyway, but how safe are they really? When most of the drinking is binge drinking, we have a horrible fraternity and sorority idea that it's okay to binge drink and get way too drunk it's just dangerous. It leads to too many problems. So, like I said, please go and think about this. Have a great night.